Hello guys, Ukraine has paralyzed the work of dozens of Russian airports, says BBC, and who am I to object? Just an ordinary, proud and satisfied Ukrainian. Something that seemed totally impossible in 2022 is the new reality of Russia. Panic, fear, paralyzed work of airports, explosions on military objects, and more people in the Russian population understanding that the war has returned back home to Russia where it belongs. As they prepare for this 9th of May parade, they gather all these tanks and borrowed from Kazakhstan aircraft. People feel tremendous fear and pressure. Internet is not properly working in Moscow. There are lots of transactions that they cannot make via mobile banking systems, and I'm sure more to come in the future days. Maybe Ukrainian drones will participate in the parade, who knows? But today let's discuss this paralyzed work, this collapse of dozens and dozens of the Russian airports, and why this message is actually very powerful inside Russia. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, subscribe, we will discuss all of that on the channel. According to BBC, and I kinda like it because the source is very trustworthy, Ukraine has successfully paralyzed the work of dozens, if not hundreds, of Russian airports. And all because of some important visits by Ukrainian drones to their important military locations. I may need to record a separate video about that, but today I want to focus on this collapse of Russian airports. This paralysis in their work included many aviation companies, and most importantly, even Aeroflot, which is the largest, the most known in Russia, and all of them had to cancel dozens, actually hundreds of flights to dozens of Russian cities. So this was not just a local problem in a particular region targeted by a flock of Ukrainian drones, but it was literally all over Russia, not only Russia. Unfortunately, there are still countries that accept Russian tourists, like Saudi Arabia, for example, and these people had to stay in the airports because the aircraft did not come to bring them back to Mother Russia. And this is huge because this demonstrates the level of Russia's vulnerability. They cannot protect their skies. Before the parade, before the victory parade that is so central to Putin's ideology, they have a lot of efforts to protect the parade. Perhaps they have moved all of their air defense close to Moscow, leaving the rest of the Russian territory open for the successful demilitarization operations. And I'm sure they will follow. Actually, today, a number of their military factories were demilitarized by Ukrainian drones, when thousands of Russians were waiting for the canceled flights in. And let me quote just a number of airports that had to stop working for long hours. First of all, these are a lot of Moscow airports, starting from Sheremetyevo, Vnukovo, Domodedovo, Zhukovsky, and a very big airport in St. Petersburg, Pulkovo. And now, just for a second, please think what kind of people fly in Russia. Russia is not a country where there are a lot of people who belong to the middle class. There are oligarchs, and the rest is people who cannot afford a lot. Maybe they fly on some foreign vacations rarely, but in general, people who are in the airports in Russia are more or less rich and influential. And perhaps they are very dissatisfied with this new reality of Russia. First, the majority of the civilized countries, I'm sorry for saying that, the majority of the civilized country closed their doors to Russia as long as they continue committing war crimes and thus preventing war criminals from escaping Russia, for example. So first, lots of these Russians lost the possibility to travel the world, and now they've lost the possibility to travel Russia, even to travel Russia, because dozens of their cities are targeted by Ukrainian drones, an important reminder, only legitimate military objects, but it's not safe to fly when you have a lot of the unknown flying objects in your skies. And this is the new reality of Russia. During one day, dozens of airports, hundreds of cancelled flights. Please remember to subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine and share these videos if you share my opinion. I think that these problems in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, they are most demonstrative because, all the rest of Russia is pretty depressive, very much suppressed, and Putin is not afraid of protests somewhere very far away. Maybe because of this super large size of Russia and very depressive regions. But in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, he is afraid of any reactions there. It's not that I have any hopes for people in Russia, but there are oligarchs, there are various friends of the regime that may grow more and more dissatisfied, and whenever they get an opportunity, start a mutiny or a coup against Putin, or start shaping some, criminal mafia opposition. For him, problems, explosions, air raid alerts, and closed airports in Moscow and St. Petersburg, they are very, 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 very painful. Just to give you an illustration, just to give you a proof, 52 flights were cancelled from Moscow and 54 to Moscow during just one day. So multiply that by hundreds of people who had to stay in their airports, to cancel their business trips, to cancel their meetings, to cancel their trips because of the Ukrainian drones. They know it. And they know that during this years of war, Putin failed a number of his aims. It did not turn into a blitzkrieg or successful special military operation. He failed to demilitarize Ukraine and actually did the country. And I do believe that right now the Ukrainian army is the strongest army, at least in Europe. And we have skills, we have new inventions, we have drones that keep targeting deep inside Russia. They have demonstrated the vulnerability of the Russian air defense, the inability to defend strategic for their economy objects like various oil refineries, like arsenals, military air bases. So those people who spend long hours at the airport waiting for the cancelled flights, they do think about that. They count the number of failures that Putin brought back to Russia together with this war. Please be realistic. War is already back to Russia. And that is very logical. That is this kind of universal truth. War always returns back home where it belongs. And dozens of Russian regions, hundreds of Russian airports are closed. Why? Because Ukrainian drones demilitarize Russia just before the strategic for Putin's ideology parade in Moscow. And trust me, Xi Jinping, who will come to visit Putin, Fico, and other miserable criminals who eat from Putin's hand, they will all see it, they will all know it, and they sure understand it's not a sign of Russia's strength or Russia's invincibility, just the contrary. Russia is weak. Russia is a classical bully, totally unprepared to defend itself. And let me know in the comments below, how do you think what will happen on the 9th of May in Moscow? Personally, I don't think that the Ukrainian armed forces will do anything bad, but I hope they will use the opportunity and demilitarize more of the evil objects that threaten people's lives, especially taking into account that Russia lacks air defense, and perhaps right now all of their air defense systems are around the Kremlin, the bunkers, and all of that. Let's see what happens. And remember to subscribe to my new channel, Anna Danilchuk, where I share my ordinary civilian experience of what is life in times of the big war, and I hope you will never need that. Join me on Instagram. I'm active there, sharing my everyday life. Also on X, on Threads, on Blue Sky, and we have an amazing Discord community. Check the merch shop for lots of good t-shirts, cushions, cups, and stickers that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need your help. We need your support. Ukraine is an asset, not a burden, and trust me, in this more and more dangerous, chaotic world, we need to return back justice, freedom, and the rule of law, because otherwise more and more wars will erupt around the world. And what is happening now is the direct consequence of this escalation management, which failed. And many regimes take it as weakness, take it as green light to keep attacking others. Let's stop it. We still have time. We have all the determination. You have Ukraine to do the job. Simply trust us, support us, and united we stand. Slava Ukraini!